Good morning, everyone. So I'm Thomas Busutil. I'm an economist. I've been working on sustainability field for more than 20 years, and I'm the founder of a sustainability consulting firm called Imagin, whose ambition is reinventing business to regenerate nature and society. So as you see, we are in the heart of what we're going to talk today. And I'm going to have to animate and to moderate this workshop on regenerative cosmetic with Adrien Geiger. So Adrien, really many thanks to be with us. Can we go to the next slide, please? Adrien is a group sustainability officer from L'Occitane and director of the brand L'Occitane en Provence. And so he will give us two illustrations of regenerative work that he's doing with his group L'Occitane. But before to have this illustration on the context and to explain what is this concept of a regenerative company and what does it mean when we are applying to regenerative cosmetics. So can we move to the next slides to explain first to how to do it and how to help you reach ambition, because we are perfectly conscious that this regenerative level is very high ambitions to give to companies. And so for that, regarding or towards Imaginable, we are also working with an ecosystem of partner. First, which is through the R3 groups that we have co-founded, which is also giving competencies on finance, on energy and impact. And we also have ecosystem of partners with Antithesis, which is another consulting firm, which is 600 consulting all over the world, with key experts on plastics and biodiversity that helps us to really tackle all those issues that we have on regeneration. And also CBIOS, which is a biomimicry institute, which is the equivalent of the biomimicry institute that you have in the US, but in France. And also we are part of the international panel on behavior change. It's not climate change, which is the equivalent of the climate change, but based on behavior, because we're also convinced that to reach this regeneration level, we need to have a massive change in the behavior of consumers and of citizens. So if you can move to next slides and work on the concepts. Can you move next slides again? Sorry, we had technical problems with the slides. So just to give you a little bit of this emerging concept, which in fact is an old one, since hopefully nature didn't wait it for us to work on regeneration. So, but we have three steps. So if I go about 30 years ago, there was this concept of responsible company, which was based on a compliance of the law. After we moved to contributive company, which means how we also already integrate positive contribution with these three pillars: people, planet, profit, and how you can positively contribute to create a value on social and environmental sides. And we are now entering this new concept of regenerating company, which is based on holistic value creations that I'm going to present you right now. So if we can move to next slide. So this holistic vision is based on first two visionary characteristics. The first visionary characteristic is to integrate that now for a company, in each decision you take or each action you make is how you integrate the impact and the contribution that you have regarding society and environment. So it means that we need to move from a technology and client vision to a systemic and ecosystemic visions where everything is linked. We are all linked, companies regarding society, and of course, all of us regarding the environment. So we have really to realign this vision of a predatory and utilitarist vision of the business regarding society and environment to a humble and partnership vision that makes things between the business, the society, and the environment. Okay, so that's the first visionary characteristic. Second visionary characteristic is a double cornerstones, which and we like this slash between re/generate. You know, we have Imagin/able. Same thing is regenerate, which means there is a first action that you can do to repair, to restore, to rehabilitate all the damages we have done especially for the past 2 centuries. And also this idea of generate, it means in all what the company does, how it can generate holistic positive contributions. If you move to next slide. So the idea for that is in the 2 practical characteristics, and we have worked on that. We have challenged our methodology with interface, which is on our point of view, maybe the company which is the most advanced in this concept of regeneration. And we have seen that there is really 2 key things to do at the same time. It's first to work on impact neutralization. It's not minimization, it's not mitigation, it's really how you can neutralize totally all your negative impact. In the case of interface, it was a mission 0 that they launched in 1996 and reached in 2020. And second thing is also the contribution maximization, which means not only can be contributive, but can you ask other questions? For example, where you are doing your actions, with which public, which suppliers you do your actions, and how where you are going to go, with which you are going to work, is going to maximize the positive effects, the positive contributions that you're going to generate, whether economically, socially, or environmentally. Okay, so for example, if I'm taking the example of Nestle, and this when they launched their Reviving Origins program, the fact that they went to Colombia or to Republic Democratic of Congo more recently is, especially its armed conflict zone, they not only revive the coffee through permaculture, through agroforestry, but also they had a real impact in how they can re-educate, retrain people to how they grow coffee, because since there was this armed conflict for 20 years, they had lost this expertise to grow coffee. Okay, so typically the fact to go to Colombia in this armed conflict zone maximize clearly the contribution that they have throughout their program. And the last thing is, because as I said, we know that it's very, very ambitious, this regenerative concept, is how we can focus on projects, which means before thinking about making a regenerative company, let's try to work first on regenerative projects. And once we have done work on these regenerative projects, how we can scalabilize through the whole companies. I will come back on this methodologic aspects later on. Next slide. So if we apply that to, thank you, to regenerative cosmetics, once again, since it's a key findings of a study that we're going to publish in July, so I just give you the really key findings, key things about these studies. If we can, what we have seen in the development of sustainable beauty before it moves to regenerative beauty is first a green beauty, which was basically in the 1880s, 90s, and focused on organic and natural ingredients. Then we have seen appear this clean beauty concept, which was more based on all the impact regarding health, regarding animals, cruelty-free. We also saw appear this also vegan cosmetics related to this clean beauty concept. And then the third concept that more recently appeared about 2 years ago from California and especially Hawaii through Onua Skincare, which was founded by Capua Browning, was this concept of blue beauty, which is a clear move to regeneration because it takes a much more holistic view and holistic contribution. And blue means it's related to ocean, and green was really related to earth. Blue is the new green, so it's integrate also the ocean aspect, ocean river, plastics and stuff like that. And it gives a first holistic contribution. But what we see when we thought about regenerative cosmetics is among those and beyond those three concepts is 6 building blocks that we can see on the next slide, please, which define what can be regenerative cosmetics. So the first one is really comes from Beauty, is holistic inequity, which means when you think about your ingredients, your formula, the production, distribution, retailing, and so on, is how you can do not harm. It's the Hippocrates oath. It's a more Hippocrates that you apply to that. So it means be harmfulness rather us, human, regarding health, but also animals, and of course of the planet. Okay, so first, holistic inequity. Second characteristics is transparency and co-construction, which means be able it goes from traceability of your ingredients, of your formulas, and also the social dimensions through build, co-construct, and a partner, an ecosystem of partners with which you are going to progress in a win-win situation regarding towards regeneration. Shared value, which is the third characteristic, is once again throughout all your value chains, how you are going to share this value, whether when you source ingredients, when you produce with your collaborators, for example, and of course with your customers through the selling of your products. Okay. The fourth characteristic is empowerment. So it means that, for example, when you work with your supplier, how you can help this supplier to, for example, have a training for especially women, for example, of your suppliers, so they're going to have empowerment through expertise, better revenues, and you're going to emancipate these women so they can empower throughout your own actions, and you generate this empowerment and both economical and societal regarding women. Fifth characteristic, resource regeneration. So here it's both, it can be includes the regeneration, taking care of soil through regenerative agriculture, but it's also preserving the resource, whether through a resource management plan or also biotechnological solutions. I'll show you an example of that thereafter. Solution, because these biotechnological solutions can avoid the use of plants or the use of land. So it's all this wide approach to not only preserve but also regenerate resources, mainly through regenerative agriculture. And the last one is society and wellness, which both is on the wellness is, for example, anti-aging and pro-age actions that you can have regarding women, for example, regarding this wellness. And society is how you can get away of these addictive consumptions to move to satiety consumptions, where you concentrate on your real need and on the essential products that you need regarding your beauty. So go to the next slide. And then we're entering the between those those examples of what is the regenerative business case of L'Occitane. So what I'm gonna send the speech to Adrien. Sorry, I was just looking if there was a connection still. And Adrien, which is, the L'Occitane group has worked for a long time on this, both biosafety preservation and progressively to this regenerative process. And Adrien, I would like first to maybe talk to us about the example of shea butter that you have been working on more than 30 years since the first work that you did. The first program you launched on shea butter was in the 80s, and especially how you progressively transformed and moved to a regenerative program since 2018 with what you call the Resist program.
Thank you very much, Thomas. There is a big echo. Now it's better, I think. Thank you very much, Thomas, and thank you for inviting me. I'm super happy to be here with you. And thank you for the presentation. Very interesting. And well, the good news that this example fits quite well with your presentation. So that's good news. As you say, we're not yet a regenerative company, although I wish we will be soon a regenerative company, but we work on regenerative projects and programs, as you mentioned before. And one good example is the Shea program. So just to give you some context, we are working with women in Burkina Faso to collect and make products with shea butter since 1980. Actually, when Olivier Bossan heard the first time about the, well, let's say the goal of the woman in there, and he was quite interested to see what was going on there. He knew that shea butter had amazing effects on the skin. So he visited those women, and he was super excited to see all these women who have developed such a great know-how in Burkina Faso, and who has those beautiful hands. So his first idea was to help these women. So when he came back and asked his R&D director to create a hand cream with shea butter, he said, put as much shea butter as possible, because the more shea butter we have in our hand creams, the more women we will save with our product, with our hand cream. And this is why we managed to have 20% of shea butter, which is enormous. And everyone was happy, and Olivier the most, because he was like, now we can really see that whenever we sell hand cream, we are contributing to this woman. And so when we went there in 1980, there are many issues. First, from the environmental point of view, so there is, of course, because of climate change, there is a desertification, so less trees. And one thing that was quite silly, I mean, we were cutting the trees in order to warm, so for the process to collect the shea butter, to transform them into to transform the nuts into shea butter. So the more we were making shea butter, the more trees we were cutting, and there was also a lot of pollution of the soil also. And from the societal point of view, because companies were mostly buying the shea nuts, not the shea butter anymore, because it was cheaper for them to transform the nuts into butter at home in their home countries. The women there, they were getting less and less value out of this business. And with I don't know it's in English, exode rural, with the fact that the cities are getting bigger and people are getting away from those areas, we had less people who had this know-how. And so what we did, the first thing we did was that we made sure that when we went there, that we are not just buying the nuts, we're buying the shea butter, and it's them who are the value stays in Burkina Faso. It stays with these women, and we keep on. We help them to develop and transmit this know-how that is ancient, been there for centuries. And so they can get the most value out of this business. And then, so we negotiated the price with a much higher premium. We give them also more visibility. We bought the stock of shea butter 3 years in advance, so then they could get some loan, and they could invest into a better production machine. We are helping them also to improve their production using the nuts to warm up the machine instead of the trees, so we no longer have to cut the trees. And so it's and you mentioned in your presentation, it's with them that actually we help to regenerate the entire ecosystem from environmental point of view and from a social point of view, helping these women to also develop other source of income. And on this purpose, we have co-developed a program called Resist with American agencies to also look at the formation, the training of those women, so they could transmit better this know-how and improve it more, and also find ways to use other source of income related to Shea, so they don't depend on us only. And we also, with this program, have to automatize some of the process, so they could also improve the efficiency of their product. And from the environmental point of view, we have reduced drastically the amount of CO2. Actually, now we can say that it's a positive, carbon positive environment. So we are actually we are capturing more CO2 than emitting in this area. And we have now a healthy filière, so a healthy business model, which also can pass through generations. And so for me, when I discussed with the team, the idea really is, we get inspired a lot by the nature. And for us, coming to Burkina Faso and working with these women to collect the shea butter, it's like being a beehive. When you are located in an area, it's not only about you. How can the beehive get as much as possible from the environment? Actually, by being here, they help the flowers to develop. They help the animals also to get food. And so you can actually develop yourself and develop the environment and society. And it's in with them in the field that you can do that, talking to the women, talking to the entire ecosystem, because as you say, everything is super linked. So you really have to work it out with them.
Thank you very much, Adrien. I think you very well explained many things, both how you can neutralize impact through carbon, being carbon positive business model, and also how you can maximize this contribution, especially on shared value and empowerment for the women, and how in the same times you have this resource regeneration, since the karité trees were diminishing, and how you stop that, and moreover how you re-dynamize also the sector. We wanted also to share another example, which is very different, because we are no more in Africa, but we're in the south of France, which is in the heart of where you were born, which is the Provence region. And we are talking with another type of issue, which is survival, because there is a bio-invasion issue that you're going to talk to us regarding the lavender. Can you just also describe this other type of situations where you also progressively set up a program which is becoming more and more regenerative?
So yeah, again, different place, different issues. So first, let's talk about the context, the issues. The lavender is suffering a lot, especially from global warming and from a specific insect called la cicadelle, who is actually killing the lavender. And because lavender is traditional culture that been quite into kind of intensive culture of lavender. We have only one type of lavender, and that's why it's very it's very
risky. If you have just
very risky. Exactly.
There's a problem. That's for sure.
But at the same time, we have 9,000 people that are involved with this industry, and we need to protect this business model, which is also super. I mean, in France, is super traditional and it's really part of our culture. So we created a fund for the saving of lavender, and we worked with biologists in order to find different species of lavender in order to increase actually the biodiversity of lavender, so then you can fight better with all the external aggression. And then also we worked with our producers to gradually move away from intensive culture to regenerative agriculture. So, of course, agroforestery, permaculture, nourishing the soil. And the idea really is also to work out with them that actually in the long term, what we're doing is more sustainable. Because the truth is intensive agriculture is killing the soil, and at the end it costs more to sustain this kind of culture. The yield keeps on decreasing, and you have to add more and more chemicals to match the yield. And when you think regenerative agriculture, not only you increase the yield of your soil, but you're capturing CO2, which is something that is valuable nowadays. So you are gradually switching into a much more sustainable business model, which will not only contribute to the development of the 9,000 people who are depending on lavender, but also to regenerate the entire ecosystem from a biodiversity point of view. And so to give you just a few figures on the impact, we have already reduced by 50% the emission of carbon. And we are really seeing now a positive impact also from the aggression of the cicadelle. So, I mean, it's really cool what's happening, because we are really working in a brand new way of producing lavender, and this also can be a source of inspiration for other type of ingredients.
Okay, thanks, Adrien. I think what you said, which is very, very interesting, is that you perfectly demonstrated how the interest to enter those kind of regenerative journey through the dynamics that you have set up, which touch both environment, regenerating environment, but also the social aspects and the economical one throughout the AOP system that you have set up. So it's, I think, very good examples of the interest. I will come back to this interest for the business, but I think it's a very interesting to see how this create those dynamics, those holistic dynamics. Even what you also demonstrated, what you insisted on, is on the complexity of such policies and such programs, and the level of ambition that you have to set up. And to take that into account, the last things we wanted to share, if you can move to the next slide. And I hope if you have questions, so we will have time to maybe answer if you have questions for Adrien, is to share a bit of methodology, you see, also, and share with you how we have designed those 3 phases of methodology. If you can move to the next slide. Thank you. It's in fact those 3 pieces of methodology, 3 steps. Is first, identify your key topics, and we're going to see how. Then select, as I said, the most promising project in terms of regenerative potential that you already have in your existing programs and throughout your existing assets, both material and immaterial. And the third phase is from this first project or projects, how you can scale up these projects to move towards a regenerative company, and also scale up your holistic contributions. So let's start with this first step. And for the next slide. Thank you. So this first step in identifying your key topics, it's two things. It's looking at your whole value chain. That's the first approach. And also integrating the stakeholders approach, which means both relying what are your main impacts throughout your value chains. And when I said impacts, it's impact and contribution, negative and positive side of your activity throughout your whole supply chain, and do the same regarding your different stakeholders. So you have this clear map of what are your priorities and what are the key topics on which you could concentrate. Two examples regarding that very quickly. Next slide. Thank you. It's, for example, if I'm taking the issues that you may have, probably if you work in cosmetics, is water and packaging, okay? The two examples you will find in the studies we're going to make, and I wanted to share with you, is the Canadian brand called Everest, which in terms of not only minimizing, but really moving to zero in terms of impact, has worked on this new range of skincare. It's a hair care company, and he has worked on this new hair care SKU, which is both waterless, and it's kind of a paste, oily paste, which has absolutely no water. And it's also, they made a whole work regarding the packaging, which means the tube is aluminum, so it's totally recyclable. The cap is in PET, and it's they have a whole system of recycling that you can send back all the caps so that they can be recycled. And you also have a system that to really use the whole product, as you can see here on the picture, to roll out the tube progressively, so you're sure you're not have waste of products when you're using it. So that's a first very interesting and holistic approach on two main issues, which is water and pack. The other example we wanted to share is Ursa, which is Ursa Major, which is an American cosmetic brand, which is part of the Blue Beauty movement. And what they did among this neutralization of impact is being a plastic negative company, which means they have an agreement with the NGO Repurpose, that you may know, on which for 1 ton of products that they're selling, the Repurpose are going to collect twice plastic to be recycled, and mainly from the shore and the beaches and so on. Okay, so that's how they became certified companies. So if you add those two examples, then you really both work on the neutralization of your impact and on two subjects at the same time, water and packaging, and starting to work on the regenerative dimension, which means collect more plastics that you put it on the market. Okay, so that's a first example. If we move to another example, which is more goes with Farah, it's more focused on science and R&D. It's this inspiring practices on ingredients and formulas. I think Adrien very well demonstrated the groundwork you can do to preserve. So, for example, the karité tree, the shea tree, and to regenerate them progressively. Here is another point of view which has been taken by the Mibel Group Chemistry. It's a Swiss group which has worked as a biomimicry and bioinspiration work to identify. So here is the case of a rare apple, which has great property to regenerate itself. I mean, it's an apple if you can cut it from the tree, and you come back 6 months later and you can still eat it. So in terms of longevity and capacity to stay well, it has a great advantage. So they took out the protein through a biotechnological process, and they use this protein and produce these ingredients that is used as anti-aging formulas, but without damaging which is the rare plant, which is this tree, which is in Switzerland, apple tree. which is very rare. And so they don't touch to this biodiversity. And by using biotechnology, they can offer those 100% natural product ingredients that are active products that are used in the cosmetics. And if we can move even one piece later, just come back to the next slide. Sorry, the previous slide. Is the second example. It even goes even farther, which is a French spin-off, R&D spin-off of the CNRS called BioInspire, which is making bioremediation with a soil which has been contaminated with heavy metals. So they are using those soils to take out the heavy metals which are in the soils, and they are transforming with chemical process, with biochemical process, those heavy metals which are polluting soil in biocatalyzer, which are used in the formulas of cosmetic. So from something which was damaging and polluting soil, they are making a bio-based and bio-sourced ingredients that are going to be used in the formula of the cosmetics. So that's typically another example which is very, very innovative, who goes from a pollution aspects to a really regeneration and positive regeneration dimension, which is throughout these formulas of biocatalyzer. So that's two examples on two subjects that you have all around your value chain. Now, if we move to the next slide, is the second question is how you can identify the projects on which you are going to focus. We're going to push from a contributive view to a regenerative dimension. And for that, I will present you this template. We have designed different criteria that from your existing program, from your existing assets, to define what are the most, which of them has the most potential, the best potential to become regenerative. So through this second phase, then you can both have this prioritization regarding your impact and contribution, and then identify on which project you're going to rely to make this movement from contribution to regeneration. And that's what we have, if we move to the next slide, like we have done with L'Occitane, with this RESIST program on shea butter. Move it to the next slide. Sophie, yes, thank you. And so sorry, the quality of the image is not that good. So through the RESIST program, so you see we have three main things which are on the strategic reach, the magnitude of the impact and the contribution, both on the negative and positive side, and the ability to influence, okay, with different sub-criteria. And through these sub-criteria with three levels of the potential, regeneration potential, you can easily identify, and you can see on Zach's example that clearly this RESIST program has a very high potential of regeneration. Still, it's quote at almost in all the criteria, they are between the medium and high level of potential. Okay, so that's for the second step, and then from this second step, we move and we enlarge, we scalabilize to different projects. If you can move to the next slide, it's just to resume. So what you will find is this regenerative study that will be available in July. So throughout all we have shared with you, so you will find inspirational practices, of course. You will have this clear and operational methodology with the 3 steps that we have presented to you. You'll have, of course, the mapping of the cosmetic issues. And one thing that I had not many times to present today, but it's also very important, but Adrien also demonstrated it quite well, is all the business opportunities analysis that will give you in these studies throughout what generate also for the business this regenerative approach throughout diversification, throughout new services also. When you were talking about wellness or satiety, it's a development of new services and new source of revenues. So we will give also a lot of examples of how this regenerative approach is also very good for the business in terms of dynamizations and a new way to think your business and demonstrate that you can think both regeneratively and which still being good, I would say, financially speaking and economically speaking for the business. And in option, of course, we can customize both this analysis, these business opportunities, and regenerative innovation workshop. So this study will be under subscriptions at the price of 500 euros. And what we wanted to tell you that this money will be reinvested 100% in a regenerative platform project that we have, and we hope to launch before the end of this year. So this money will be used to develop this regenerative platform, which will give business cases, which will give experts, which give a certain number of things to help you to go to practice, I would say, this high ambition of regeneration. If we move to the next slide, and maybe you have time to a little time, yeah, just 3 minutes. Just what we wanted to, the last thing we want to give you is this piece of methodology I showed you. So we are going to put on the chat the link to if you want to get this template and try on yourself to look at what are your best programs that you have inside your company and try to define what are the best potential of regeneration. So you'll be able to download this template, try to make the exercise, and if you have questions, of course, we will help you to go further on. Okay, so we have 2 to 3 minutes to have questions. I don't know if there was questions in the chat. How do you see the use of control environmental agriculture to produce around? I don't understand that much.
I think I understand it.
Yeah, Adrien, go ahead.
I still have the echo. I guess the question is about producing all year round, and so have a controlled environment, so we no longer depend on the seasons. That's at least my understanding.
Okay.
Just to make it clear for us, actually, is okay to have harvest once a year. I mean, in our production system, it's okay for us to respect the nature environment, and the fact that nature only is being harvested once a year or sometimes twice for verbena is more than okay for our logistic and for our production flow. And now I go to the other question, because there's another question that I read. Share with us some project that L'Occitane plans to focus on the future. Something that we work quite hard on is really regenerative agriculture. It's something that my ambition is to be able to scale it everywhere. And the beauty, I mean, the good news for us is that in our business model, because there is we have product with high value, we have room to invest with our producers into regenerative agriculture. And our idea is that with this, we want to really demonstrate that it can work everywhere. And we're working with Danone in a coalition called OP2B, One Planet Business for Biodiversity, on beetroot. Beetroot is, we need the alcohol of beetroot to do our fragrances, but it's also well, it's also used for the food industry, and demonstrating with beetroot that actually regenerative agriculture is something that is sustainable and makes sense from a business point of view too. And the packaging, eco packaging, of course, is something that we were working on. Reducing waste is super important if we want to mitigate the impact we have on biodiversity. And the example are super inspiring. What we're working on also is refill stations, waterless products, so solid products with paper packaging or different kind of packaging. So that's something that I think is a lot of things are happening in this area, and it's really interesting. But it makes, of course, it's something we're working on.
Thank you, Adrien. I think we're going to have to stop. So the next slide is just to say you thank you to have listened to us to share these examples. Of course, we also will talk about what do L'Occitane, for example, for the refill stations projects and so on. And thanks, Adrien, for all those presentations and very positive perspective regarding regeneration. So really many thanks. And of course, if you want to keep the dialogue, we are at your disposal for that. So many thanks, and see you maybe tomorrow at 4:20 p.m. If you want to keep on going with regeneration, since I will have the pleasure to moderate a roundtable on regenerative economy with Kalina Raska, which is a founder of Sebios, the biomimicry, and Eric Rampelberg, which is the CEO for Europe and Middle East of Interface. And as I told you, I think Interface is for us the most advanced company in terms of regeneration. So if you welcome again at 4:20 p.m. this afternoon for this roundtable on regenerative economy. Thank you and bye-bye. Thank you, Adrien.
Thank you very much.